This is Adam Bernard with AutoPerspectives, and welcome to our weekly news roundup, wherein we will look at some of the more interesting stories circulating throughout the auto industry over the past week or so. We'll get ourselves started with the Mercedes G, or Little G, as it's sort of been informally referred to by Mercedes. Back in 2022, Mercedes announced a strategy focused on profit over volume, with a reduction in entry luxury models and an emphasis on bespoke models that would be higher margin and thus generate more revenue. Things like Maybach, AMG, and the G sub-brands. More recently, though, it seems like Mercedes has pivoted back with the planned reintroduction of the A-Class, which was scheduled to disappear this year, and a goal to boost volumes to about 2 million units as kind of a midterm target. Meanwhile, in 2023, in the Munich Motor Show, Mercedes announced the Baby G, or Little G. And the initial assumptions was that this younger brother to the legendary G-Class would use the new multi-energy MMA architecture, which underpins the recently launched CLA and GLB. More recently, however, Mercedes has confirmed that this will use a unique ladder frame architecture, which, yes, is quite a bit more expensive and complex from both investment and a manufacturing standpoint. But apparently Mercedes felt that if they were looking for something to carry the G name, it would have to perform like everyone expects a G2, especially when it comes to off-road. As you can see from this rendering from Autocar, it retains the round headlamps and the side hinge tailgate of its big brother. There have been a number of prototypes spied driving around, camouflage, but it is kind of hard to miss the silhouette of what it is you're looking at. The rear spare tire case, or what you would assume is a rear tire case, actually holds the charge cable, like the larger G-Class EQ. Sources now, however, suggest that although the original plans for this vehicle were that it was going to be EV only, it now sounds like it's going to offer both EV and hybrid powertrains. The hybrid being the 1.5 liter mild hybrid from the new CLA and the GLB. This particular powertrain unit was designed and developed by Mercedes, but it's built by Horse Powertrain, and that's a joint venture between Geely and Renault in China. The G-Class EQ has been pretty well anchored to the showroom floor, and so that is assumed to be the assumption for adding a hybrid option to the new upcoming Baby G, which could also be called the GLG if Mercedes sticks with some of its nomenclature standards. Both vehicles will be all-wheel drive with torque vectoring to enhance off-road performance. Mercedes outgoing technology chief Marcus Schaefer told Autocar that the new Little G will use a significant number of unique components, far more than I ever wish to tell you, which suggests that while the initial plans were to use a lot of off-the-shelf components and keep the unique bits to sheet metal and interior, it sounds like that may not be the case anymore. But there's a lot of interest in smaller SUV these days. The G-Class has a lot of brand equity, and so this could turn out to be a hot product for them. It's expected to launch in 2027. We may actually see it in some form before the end of the year. And so it'll hit the market just after the upcoming Land Rover Defender Sport. So we have two premium brands going with some aggressively off-road capable vehicles at the low end of the market. So it'll be interesting to see both of those vehicles head to head. For something completely different, we have Genesis's Jet on Wheels. Now, strangely, while minivans appear to enjoy a resurgence in the US last year, it turns out they never really stopped being popular in China. And not just minivans, but luxury minivans. From startup brands like Zeekr, which you may or may not have heard of, to established luxury brands like Lexus and Volvo. And we do know that the upcoming Mercedes V-Class will include a luxurious VLS variant, that's S as in S-Class, and that'll be focused on the high end of the MPV market. So it's not entirely surprising to learn that Genesis might be looking to get into this segment as well. They recently showed images of a full-sized concept that they referred to as a jet on wheels, and the Korean car blog has indicated a production version is likely, quoting a report from a YouTube channel called Media Auto. They're indicating a target China-only launch of 2029, so we are still 3 years away. Makes sense because this does look like a substantially new vehicle, an annual volume of about 18,000 units and a potential EREV powertrain. So this could use the upcoming Genesis specific platform that I talked about here a few weeks ago. With Genesis really recently expanding into motorsports, a performance sub-brand, Magma, and bespoke capabilities, it's not surprising they are looking at other opportunities for growth. So no official word, of course, from Genesis. We haven't seen this vehicle in public yet, only the photos. And so they've got about 3 years to plan how, if at all, to launch this particular product. And now we switch over to Lincoln. I talked about early on here the popularity of SUVs and the fact that just about everyone wants to go off-road in one form or another. We've heard that Audi is working on a vehicle off these new Scout platform, and that BMW is working on an off-roader based on the X7, something full-size or possibly mid-size, but very off-road capable. It was only a matter of time before other brands began to follow suit. Personally, I did not have Lincoln on my bingo card, but that is the latest rumor coming out of Dearborn. And you can see that we have an artist's impression here of what a Bronco-based Lincoln might look like. To be honest, this seems like something that would require a lot of investment in order to make a Lincoln-worthy product. Lincoln has historically been known for large, luxurious, smooth, quiet vehicles. Not even really high-performance vehicles like Cadillac has with the V-Series, although they've tried to dabble in it. You might have to go back to the 1950s to find out the last time Lincoln had anything high performance, and that was their involvement in NASCAR. I think if you did a Lincoln off the Bronco, you would probably not need removable doors. You would probably not need a removable roof. So that would certainly help in terms of NVH. But that's also additional engineering work required to make those things non-removable and more solid. You'd also need a lot of investment on the interior to bring it to a level comparable to the other Lincolns on the showroom floor. And if you've seen the inside of a Nautilus or an Aviator or a Navigator, those are really nice. Nicely designed, nicely executed, somewhat distinctive with some really nice premium materials and colors. Would Lincoln owners, though, go for something like this, or is this more of a conquest vehicle? To be honest, at this point, I'm not entirely sure. And of course, because we haven't seen a product, it's hard to really judge here. Again, it's been 70 years since they've done anything relatively high performance on or off-road, and that was on the track. But they do have, frankly, zero credibility in off-roading. Audi at least can point to their rally car history as they work on their off-road oriented SUV. The Navigator is very much an on-road vehicle, as is the Aviator and the Nautilus. They don't even have any kind of off-road package the way BMW and Mercedes do. Again, still far from confirmed, and it could be simply some speculative discussion coming out of Dearborn. But we'll have to see if it actually amounts to anything in the next few years. And if we go finally to Japan and the next Lexus IS, the original IS was introduced as Lexus's competitor to the legendary BMW 3 Series, and it did create a bit of a cult following. It appears to be on its way out from a production standpoint. A few years ago, folks were accusing Toyota and Lexus of being late to or largely ignoring the EV party, especially with the first generation BZ4X and Lexus RZ, which were largely derided as not being nearly as competitive as Toyota's hybrid products. Toyota has bounced back with an improved BZ and RZ and 4 additional entries, including a new ES electric sedan that, while not necessarily best in segment, are definitely more competent. And they also have a roadmap for a next generation modular architecture and leading edge battery technology. Now, the LFZC concept that was shown in 2023 that we see here may provide a roadmap for the next generation IS, and that's what some of the talk out of Japan suggests at the moment. It's not clear if Lexus's EV targets, which originally were a 100% goal to be globally electric by 2035, will be retained, but it does appear that Lexus will be stepping up their EV game. So if this vehicle does come to pass, and again, haven't heard anything official yet, and there is a new Toyota CEO, so at this point, anything could happen. It would target the next generation Mercedes C-Class EQ, the BMW i3, and the Audi A4 e-tron. So there are definitely other competitors coming into this part of the market with fully electric entries. We'll see if Lexus decides to follow suit. And that about wraps things up for this week in Auto Perspectives. A little more of a speculative discussion. Not a lot of product launches. We are looking forward to seeing the Rivian launch on March 12th, the R2. But until then, visit AutoPerspectives.net if you want to check out the blog. Look for me on LinkedIn. And of course, if you like what you see and hear with this broadcast, please subscribe and share. Thanks very much. See you next week.